All right. Well, we had a great morning and a great lunch, I hope. Everyone have a good time so far? And this morning, it was all about going deep with entrepreneurs and unpacking lessons to build your business. This afternoon, we're going to shift gears a little bit, and we're going to learn how to take our businesses to the next level. Now, I have the great privilege of introducing someone that I know quite well. And boy, I had no idea what a good negotiator she was. I'll explain. Guiliana Rancic, formerly Guiliana DePandy. Maybe some of you have heard of her. We got engaged, I guess about 8.5 years ago. And right after we got engaged, my phone rang, and Donald Trump called. He said, "Bill, congratulations. Great girl. I really like her on E. She's great. Get a prenup." I said, wow, that's actually some pretty good advice. He's my mentor. I need to listen to what he says. So I called up Guiliana a day or two later. I said, I was speaking with Mr. Trump, and he suggested that we get a prenup. She said, "That's a great idea." I thought, wow, that was a lot easier than I thought. So I called up my lawyers. I said, "Let's get the prenup rolling." And my lawyers are going back and forth with her legal team. And about a month into the negotiations, my lawyer calls me up. He says, "Bill, I've been practicing law for 25 years, and they've just submitted a request that I've never seen. They want to put a cheating clause in the prenup." Oh, whoa. Pump the brakes, ladies. It gets better. And in this cheating clause, if you get caught cheating, Guiliana wants 110% of your net worth. Not 100, 110. So I said, you know what? I'm not a cheater. Put it in there. So they're going back and forth. And about 2 weeks before our wedding in Italy, I call up Guiliana. I said, honey, we should probably wrap up this prenup thing before we head on the airplane to Italy. And she says, "Oh, my goodness, didn't I tell you? My lawyer told me to tell you that Italian girls don't sign prenups." It turned out her lawyer was her older brother, who not only does he not have a law degree, he barely has a GED. But boy, oh boy, I want to thank him from the bottom of my heart, because I had no idea what an incredible entrepreneur my wife would be. And had I signed that prenup, who knows? She has really inspired me. My wife, and this is very serious, she is a fighter. She is someone who came to America at a very young age and didn't speak a word of English, and had her dream and worked hard, made the sacrifices, put the time in, had failures along the way, but never gave up. And she has blossomed not only to a great entertainment reporter and the host of Fashion Police, but an incredible entrepreneur. She started a clothing line, G by Guiliana Rancic. She's partners with me in our restaurants, RPM Steak and RPM Italian. She had the idea to create a wine called XOG, which fortunately I'm married to, we're partners in, and it's going to be launching November 4th. But it's an amazing wine bottle that you can break down into 4 individual glasses. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Thank you. But she's also a cancer survivor. She's an amazing mom, an amazing wife, and someone I love very, very much. So please welcome my beautiful wife, Guiliana Rancic.
I was listening backstage, darling. Post-nup, maybe?
Not a chance. Not a chance.
Well, it is so great to be here. I am absolutely thrilled to be standing here before you, and I'm in some pretty incredible company today, so I'm quite honored. Bill touched on this a little bit. I moved to America as a little girl. My father, we're Italian, and my father had a dream. and he wanted to pursue the American dream. So we moved to America when I was about 6 years old, and my father was a master tailor from Naples, Italy. And his dream was to come to America and open a clothing store and make suits for American men. And that's what we did. We moved here, had very modest upbringing, but I watched my father day in, day out work his tail off to make his dream come true. He's a true entrepreneur, and now at 75 years old, he just signed yet another 10-year lease on his 4th store. So I'm very proud of my father, and he was a great, great role model to me. But when I was a little girl and I moved here, I didn't speak a lick of English, and I was put into the public school system, and we couldn't afford a tutor or a fancy education. So I was in the public school system in Washington, D.C., and I didn't speak English. The teachers didn't speak Italian, so they spoke to me in Spanish, of course. Hola, ¿cómo está? Turned out great, actually. But I would sit in the back of the classroom and I would just doodle and daydream all day because no one would talk to me. I was a freak to the other kids. No one would talk to me. I couldn't communicate with anyone. And I actually did not learn English in school. Every day after school, I would go home and my parents would be at work trying to build their business. And I would sit in front of that television set, and I would learn English from watching everything from Sesame Street to the local news in Washington, D.C. And it was watching the news that inspired me to do what I'm doing today. I would see these anchor women, and they spoke beautiful English, and they spoke in these short sentences and used words I could understand. And that anchor woman taught me English. And at a very, very young age, it was when I decided to become an anchor woman. But it wasn't easy. Like many of you, I certainly had my share of obstacles and challenges. For one, I didn't speak English well. I had a thick Italian accent, and I just had all sorts of struggles. But when I finally reached adulthood, I went to journalism school at the University of Maryland, and then I went ahead and got my graduate degree in journalism. And a few years later, I set out to Los Angeles. I didn't have some uncle who was a director who worked in the business. I was on my own. And after many years of struggling, I worked in retail, I was a hostess, I did all sorts of things, worked in the restaurant business. And finally, I got my big break. I was given an opportunity to audition as the new reporter on E! News. And this was about 13 years ago. So I have this big break. I'm the 39th person to audition for this job. It's the dream of a lifetime. It's all I've wanted since I was 6 years old. Well, the first day I go to work, and I don't realize there's hair and makeup and wardrobe at these places. So I walk in with my little Caboodles makeup kit. Do you ladies know what those Caboodles makeup kits are? Right? Old school, baby. I'm old school. And I have a suitcase full of clothes, and I walk in and they go, you realize we're a huge network and we have hair and makeup and wardrobe. I'm like, really? That's so cool. But I wanted to be safe. So I had all my stuff with me, went upstairs, and they said, okay, your first assignment is you're going to go to a premiere tonight. It's Freddie Prinze Jr.'s new movie, Summer Catch. I didn't think so. One lady, woo! Exactly, that's why they sent me. So I go to this premiere, and before I got to see the movie, of course, and in the movie, Wilmer Valderrama, that young actor, well, he's my age now, not so young, but at the time we were young, he has an affair with his friend's mother. And so I decide, when I go to this premiere, I decide, I want to know more about Wilmer. Was he inspired by this movie in any way? Does he like older women? I think that's kind of a fun line of questioning. So I ask him all sorts of borderline racy questions. And we air it on E! News, and the phones start lighting up in the newsroom. People are not so happy. People are either very unhappy or they think it's the funniest, greatest interview they've ever seen, okay? So I'm watching this happen. I'm seeing people run around the newsroom, and I'm thinking, is this good or bad? I can't quite figure out what's going on. So I get a call to go see the executive producer about an hour later, and I walk in thinking to myself, okay, I'm either about to get fired or I'm about to get hired. And I sit down, and I've got a big smile on my face, and she basically says, you're fired. Go home. And that's what she said. And she said, you know what? This is unacceptable. we don't deliver news in this manner. Basically what she was saying is, we don't like to have fun. Deliver the news straighter. This isn't what we do, and we don't know where you thought you could get away with this. And I said, you know what? I was trying something new. I don't know. I was just having fun and trying to do something entertaining and different from everyone else. Well, it didn't seem to work. So I left E that day, that very first day, with my tail between my legs and my caboodles makeup kit behind me, and I went home. And I can't tell you how many people, not just friends, but family members as well, said, what were you thinking? What were you thinking? You should have watched hours and hours of the other hosts on E and imitated them and done what those girls do, and then you would have gotten the job. But you know what? I would always argue back, and I'd say, but that's not who I am. I'm me. I'm bringing my own style, and if E doesn't want that, then maybe somewhere else will. But I can't be someone I'm not. I have to stay true to who I am. And 6 months later, the phone rang, and it was E. They had auditioned many people after me, and they said it always just kept coming back to that crazy girl who was in our office who got all the attention. They said of every single segment that a person auditioning had done, it was the only one anyone ever remembered. And so I was hired, and they announced it in the newsroom in front of many people, and they said, remember her? We fired her. She's actually hired, and she's the new reporter at E. And not only do we forgive her for putting us through so much agony, but we actually want you all to watch that segment and do more of what she did in that segment. We want you to be more irreverent. And I thought, yeah, I'm irreverent. And I walked to my new little cubicle, and I sat down, and I looked over my shoulder, and I Googled the word irreverent. Now I know what it means, but back then. And that was 13 years ago. And now I'm the anchor of E! News. I've been able to realize my dream. But it just goes to show that, boy, you hear it all the time, but you do have to take risks when it comes to business, especially if you want to be the best and you want to rise to the top. And that's what I did. I had a fearless attitude, and I was willing to take risks. And I continue to do that. As a TV host, normally we go on to, maybe host E! News for another 25 years or 20 years. But I thought I want to do more than that. When I was diagnosed with breast cancer a few years ago, I decided to use my platform that I had, the fact that I was reaching millions of women all around the world on E, and why not use it for good? And so I created a charity called FabuWish, where we grant fabulous themed wishes to women undergoing breast cancer treatment. And so I used my platform for that. I decided to start a clothing line because I figured, hey, I'm on the red carpet. I see what the stars are wearing before anyone else. Why not tap into the fashion industry? And so I did that. I started a clothing line on HSN. And now, as Bill mentioned, I'm launching a wine. Well, because I like to drink wine. I mean, let's just be honest. There's no real story there. No, but what I saw was I met with someone who had a very innovative technology where you can break this wine bottle into 4 cups. And I thought, how many other women and men get home at the end of the day and just want 1 cup? And I thought, that's so interesting. I'm not going to try to do what everyone else does, create just a regular bottle of wine. I want to do something different. I want to solve what's a problem in the marketplace. And that's another very strong attitude of mine that I have, always trying to find a problem in the marketplace and to solve that problem. So it's been a real joy. And it's just been so great being here, and I know all of you have been very inspired today. So I'm very proud to be a part of this. And backstage, I got the chance to meet our next speaker, which I'm incredibly inspired by. She is lifestyle guru and businesswoman Martha Stewart. Yes. Martha Stewart grew up in Nutley, New Jersey. She's the second okay, someone from Nutley here. Very nice. She'll be happy to see that. She's the second of 6 children. She actually worked as a model from the age of 13, appearing in fashion shows as well as television and print advertisements. After graduating from Barnard College in Manhattan and having a career as a stockbroker on Wall Street for over a decade, she started a catering business. She bought a farmhouse and she learned everything about restoration and reflects that this whole thing was much more her cup of tea than working on Wall Street. She started her catering business during the Watergate years and claims that it is very similar to the stock market. She says in one, you're dealing with people's money, and the other with their appetites. So Martha quickly became known for her gourmet menus and her very unique and creative presentation. Within a decade, Martha Stewart Inc. had grown into a $1 million business, serving a number of corporate and celebrity clients. In 1991, Martha Stewart released her magazine, Martha Stewart Living, and her growth and expansion continued into what is today Martha Stewart Living Omnimedia Inc., a lifestyle empire that includes, get this, 2 magazines, a checkout-sized recipe publication, a popular cable TV show, a syndicated newspaper column, and a series of how-to books, radio shows, an internet site, and much, much more. On October 19th, 1999, America's most famous homemaker returned to Wall Street to see her company through its initial public offering on the New York Stock Exchange. Let's take a closer look at her achievements.